shameful, unpatriotic, lazy, selfish, entitled behavior at the county fair. Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. I am an ex-professional hockey coach turned 8-figure entrepreneur. You can join my email newsletter at brassballsvideos.com. When you go there and opt in, I have some really sweet free content for you that hasn't seen the light of day. Yours absolutely free, nothing to buy. brassballsvideos.com to join my righteous email list. So my wife Krista and I, we've been here in Southwest Florida, Naples, for the last 3 years. And every year, what can I say? I'm a total hayseed. I'm a total redneck. I've got lots of hillbilly in me, being raised in small town Canada. My grandparents and great-grandparents were farmers. I'm a rural guy. I live on the lake. I grew up in a small town of 6,000 people. I was raised in the back of a general store the first 5 years of my life in a village of like less than 100 people, watching my dad work 14 hours a day every day but Christmas. We lived in the back of the general store. I've got a lot of blue collar roots, middle class roots, and I've always loved the agricultural fair. We have one in our small community back in Canada. I love seeing the farmers bring their stuff into the community center grounds. I love the rides. I love all of it. I love the energy. Call me a hayseed if you want, but my daughter also loves it. So for the third year in a row, Kristen Emery and I headed to the Collier County Fair. And admittedly, it's a well done agricultural fair. The midway's tremendous. The agricultural exhibits are incredible. The animals, the produce, everything. So we went for one evening, and once again this year, third year in a row, just an amazing time. Emery loves the rides. I'm not a ride person, but my wife Krista is. She did set a PB, personal best, on the bull riding, one of those electronic bulls. She set the record for that, and Emery won a stuffy teddy bear, first place for some other game as well, actually darts. So thanks, Dan Lazonis, for your homeschooling dart throwing, being part of every day. So, but one of the things that really dampened and really irritated me, I said, I'm not going to rant about this. I promised myself I'm going to take it easy today. I'm not going to get my blood pressure up. I'm not going to get boiling like I do on some of these broken iPhone videos. But man, when it comes to America and Canada, when it comes to patriotism, when it comes to our military, when it comes to our farmers, when it comes to our police officers, our firefighters, when it comes to the incredible abundance and opportunity and wealth that we have in these countries, Canada and the United States, when I see the selfishness and the entitlement and the laziness and sloth of today, especially, my generation of parent letting down our children, them not being raised with values and core beliefs and work ethic and pride, it breaks my heart more than anything, because I don't think we've done a very good job of instilling an attitude of gratitude in our young people. Do you think most young people that you meet today have an attitude of gratitude, that they're focused on serving others, that they appreciate, the independence of these countries, the opportunity, like all the blessings that surround them, the trillions of dollars of wealth, the unlimited abundance, the unlimited opportunity, AI, the World Wide Web. It's just endless. There is no excuse for not doing well in 2024. This is easily the greatest time in history to be alive. How many young people, how many people in general do you think have that mindset? That this is the greatest time in history to be alive? I know it's the greatest time to be a husband, a father, and an entrepreneur. I know that's been my experience. But how many people have chosen a victim mentality or been taught a victim mentality instead of a victory mentality? A lot. So when I saw what I saw at the county fair the other night, it's just something that I cannot not rant about. Because when I teach my young hockey players, when I teach my employees, when I run my companies, this is everything I'm about. I'm all about doing the right thing. I'm all about high standards. I'm all about teaching young people more about I don't give a shit about coaching hockey. 70% of what I talked about to my young athletes, are age 17 to 21, is how to be a good person, how to serve others, how to become a gentleman, a real man, how to be a husband, how to be a father, this type of stuff. That's what I care about. When it came to my employees and all the different businesses, our companies were about how can we serve other people beyond what we're doing here in business? How can we help the food bank? How can we help the children's literacy program? How can we help the animal rescue? How can we help? How can this be bigger than just business? So this is what I'm about. I'm about patriotism. I'm about an attitude of gratitude. So we show up at the county fair, and Emery and I and Krista are standing at the front gate, and it's like 10 minutes to 6 p.m. when they're about to open up the gates. So we're early, of course. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Rule number one, if you can't be punctual, you can't be trusted. So we're early for everything, or else. And we're standing there at about 10 to 6, and gentleman comes on the loudspeaker. There's about 75 people, all ages, by the way, all ages standing out front. We got children, we got kids in strollers, we got teenagers, we got people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. We got people in front of us in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So this is not one age group. This is not the Zoomers or the Millenniums or the, lots of boomers as well. And the gentleman comes on the loudspeaker, and it's a good sound system. And he says, "Welcome to the fair." And he does a really nice job of telling people exactly what to expect and what's going to happen. And then he says, "I would ask you to bow your head in prayer." And he says a short 30-second prayer. I thought it was total class. It didn't strike me as religious. It struck me as a gratitude message for anybody, and whether they were a person who had a certain religion, or whether the person was from a certain, or even if they were just a spiritual person or they believed in the universe. It was that type of grace. And he said a short prayer for the men and women that run the rides, for the people working at the fair, for the vendors, the restaurant owners, the food truck people, and of course the visitors and the people that are attending like ourselves. And the farmers, I thought it was so well done. I was so pleased. I've never seen that before. A short word, a prayer of gratitude for the people that are attending and put this on. 30 seconds. And do you think that you got 75 people there? You think that people could put their phone down, could shut their mouths, and literally actually focus for 30 seconds and listen to the man? Do you think that's possible in 2024? Absolutely not. I think we were the only 3 people that stood there and listened to the welcoming, and then bowed our heads and listened intently to the short prayer. We were the only people that weren't on I didn't have a cell phone, so I can't be on a cell phone. My daughter doesn't have a cell phone, and Krista had hers in her purse, and we genuinely listened. And we prayed exactly for the people they were asking us to pray for. I didn't have to be a religious person. I didn't even have to be a spiritual person. I just had to be a human being. I just had to be somebody who cared about more than his fucking self. So that was a massive, massive wake-up call to see these punch-drunk tomato cans, and that's what they are. All ages, 70 years old, 80 years old on a phone. Like this last while, I've been noticing that people that should know better don't. And, you know, it's easy to point the finger at Zoomers and millenniums. That's easy because, you know, my generation of parent has done such a lousy job of raising our children. So it's easy for those kids who haven't been taught anything to easily say, oh, well, it's all that generation. Well, it's not. The lady in front of me was 70, 75, 85 years old, and she never shut up once talking on her cell phone. So I don't care where I am, in a donut shop or a restaurant or out on a morning walk, I'm running into people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who are on a cell phone like a teenager, the same etiquette and the same manners. None. Shame on these people for lowering their standards and behaving in such a disrespectful and unprofessional manner. So there we are, standing at the gate, 75 people, nobody listening, nobody paying attention, nobody stopping to put their phone down or put their phone away. And all it was just talk, and loud too, laughing, whatever. So that was bad enough. And then the announcer says, thank you for your attention, which nobody gave except for our family. And then he said, I would ask that you stand, remove your hats. I have to say that now because most tomato cans, most normies don't know how to remove a hat any longer at the table or for the national anthem. So this gentleman again politely asks that people stand, remove their hat, and listen to the Star Spangled Banner. I love this song. It's my favorite song in the world. Oh, Canada, and then Star Spangled. It gives me goosebumps. I'm such a proud Canadian. I'm such a proud visitor to America. I'm so honored that I'm welcome in this country. But that, when it's played at a hockey game or a baseball game or a football game, it just gives me goosebumps, especially when it's sung live by a powerful singer. So once again, nobody pays attention. Just more texting, more laughing, more joking, more yelling, more squealing, more vaping, everything and anything. They could have shot bullets out of those speakers and it wouldn't have had any effect on these cell phone junkies. I talk about cell phone junkies. I talk about people suffering from digital dementia. This was a masterclass of what technology has done to the human brain. The literal microwaving of the prefrontal cortex, where you can't even stop for a word of prayer. You can't stop to listen to your national anthem. You can't focus. You can't talk. You can't manufactured mental illness. I've nailed it. It's manufactured mental illness. Cell phone junkies, drones, clones, whatever you want to call them. And like I said, of all ages, not just kids, not just young people, old people who should know better. So they start the national anthem and my daughter is standing there at attention. I remove my hat. And my wife and daughter actually sing the Star Spangled Banner, which is an incredible thing. I just love when they do that. And we stand tall, and we're so grateful to be allowed to live part-time in this country. We're so proud that we can be here for part of the year, and it's honoring the country to show respect for this important song. And we're literally the only people. The laughing, it was just an absolute joke. And I was just in shock. My wife was in shock. My daughter was in shock. So instead of getting all crazy upset like I normally do, I just stopped myself and took a few deep breaths and said to myself, what's the teaching moment here, Michael, for Emery, my daughter? What's the teaching moment? Because she was astounded. Eh? She said, look at these people, like the disrespect and the lack of pride, the lack of patriotism, the lack of integrity. And I used it as a teaching moment. I said, you know how I talk about looking around you at what everybody else is doing? And she's like, yeah. And I said, and what have I told you? Well, look around and do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. Right. And I said, if it's popular, it's what? And she said, wrong. And I said, if you're on a road that's traveled, that's the wrong road to be on. So what do you see around you? And she said, you know, people on their cell phones talking, laughing, hats on, nobody showing respect, nobody showing any integrity, nobody showing any patriotism. And I said, yeah, so you know to do what you did, which is stand at attention, to listen intently, to sing. And I said, because you're doing the exact opposite of all these normies, of all these brokies, of all these mentally ill people, of all these iPhone junkies, of all these sheeple, you're in the right spot. So that's what came out. Well, that's what came out of it. Literally a teaching moment of what not to do. And I think we need more husbands and more fathers to step up with our children and grandchildren and do exactly that. There's no shortage of examples in today's world of what not to do. We can be a positive, more is caught than taught in our own homes by walking, by going to the gym, by eating clean foods, by praying, by living a good life, serving people, all these different things. But there's nothing more powerful than a bad example. Using a bad example as this is what not to do. And that's what our trip to the county fair was. It was you want to know why your country's in crisis? You want to know why Canada's in crisis? You don't want to know why America's in crisis? These two countries, the two greatest countries in history, the two greatest countries in the world, and we're literally, our toes are hanging over a cliff in 2024. We're that close to the whole thing crumbling down. As positive as I try to be, as grateful as I try to be, always talking about how great America is, how great Canada is, being grateful for the opportunities and abundance and wealth, we're literally at the crossroads as a country, as a nation. And you can put Canada and America in the same boat. We have the same mindset, the same attitude, the same entitlement, the same sloth, the same victimhood. It's the same. So we're literally at the cliff when it comes to our country. We're this close to being the generation that lost independence and freedom. We're that close. We're that close. And it's not a political decision. Like, it doesn't, who's in the White House and who's prime minister and who's president is a lot less important than what's happening in your house. And when I see people disrespect a gratitude prayer, when I see people not removing their hats, when I see the way people dress, when I see the attitudes of young people, when I see the manners and etiquette of people that should know better, when I see our national anthems disrespected, when I see people unable to shake a hand or present themselves or speak or any of that stuff, that's what's happening at our kitchen tables. That's not the responsibility of a creepy Joe Biden or a Donald Trump or a Ronald Reagan or a Justin Trudeau. You know, we make our own homes, we make our own economy, we make our own country. It's not up to bureaucrats and bought and paid for politicians. If it depended on those guys, if you're depending on those guys, then you're choosing a life of victimhood. If you want to be a victor, then you make your own economy, you make your own home, you make your own country, you make your own town, you make your own business, and you make your own world. So that's why I don't follow politics. That's why I don't participate in the news. I don't participate in anti-social media. I don't participate in pro sport because I'm busy making my own world. I'm busy creating my own society. And I'm busy at my own kitchen table. I'm busy in my own bedroom. Gratitude prayer at night with my wife, gratitude prayer in the morning, reading books to my daughter every night, talking to her about how she's not a princess, but a president. You know, that kind of leadership that a child needs through their father. And just taking 100% accountability for my own world. So what happens in the White House is not nearly as important as what's happening in our house. What's happening at your kitchen table? Are you having nightly dinners with no technology, talking about values, talking about principles, talking about right and wrong, talking about things like how to present yourself? Obviously not. Certainly not in enough places. So, you know, to blame the government or this is at us. We're at the crossroads now. There's no turning back unless we make a difference at the kitchen tables in our countries. Unless these are conversations that fathers and mothers and husbands and wives start having with our children and grandchildren, then, I mean, we're going to be the generation that lost the greatest country in the world. And we're at the crossroads. We're running out of time. It's time for us to finally get our house in order. It's time for good people, entrepreneurs, small business owners, people like you to stand up and be heard, because it's almost too late. It's almost too late. And when I see something like that at the Agricultural County Fair, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. When I see patriotism attacked, when I see a lack of respect for prayer, for gratitude, when I see the levels of laziness and sloth and selfishness and entitlement in all people now, if that's not the ultimate warning, the ultimate red flag, I don't know what is. And since we were there a week ago, admittedly as a father and a husband, I've literally raised my game again. I'm like asking myself, what more can I do in my house? What more can I do in my home? It's not my response. It's nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to save my family. It's up to me. I want that responsibility. I'm the person in charge. And people need to take that on, where it's not about politics. It's not about, you know, all these different excuses. If it's going to be, it's up to me. So what happens at your kitchen table is the most important thing that happens in our countries if we're going to get this turned around. I want to share that story with you because boy, oh boy, that was a wake-up call for me. The standards that have shrunk, the attitudes, the cancer, the rat poison, the effects of technology on people. Man, if that wasn't a red flag, I don't know what is. I'm all about, you know, teaching love of country, love of creator, love of God, love of work, love of entrepreneurship, but it's got to start in my own home as well. So, man, more is caught than taught, and fathers especially better step up in their homes and start teaching their values and principles and instilling them so that we can step back from this cliff, save our countries, and start heading in the right direction. Listen, I have a wicked training for you for free. It's called Magnetic Speaking. And you can get it. It's a 22-minute training I did for my top $30,000 mastermind members. It's never seen the light of day. Go to brassballsvideos.com and opt into my newsletter email list. That's all you have to do. And you can even unsubscribe, and you'll get a copy of that video training. It's called Magnetic Speaking. It's my 11 secrets for becoming a magnetic speaker, influencer, and leader. Trust me, we need that in 2024 more than ever. brassballsvideos.com. Opt in and the training is yours instantly. All right. I mean, what happens in the White House doesn't matter. What happens is what happens in your house. make sure that everything in your home is a contagious positive example. Make sure you're stepping up and talking and speaking for what's right and wrong, and make sure that, you know, what I experienced there at the county fair, that we start turning that back and start taking back our countries and start doing what's right, and start taking pride in nation and pride in entrepreneurship and pride in our country and pride in freedom and pride in what happens inside our homes. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change your life. Be relentless.